So, you've decided to go to Europe with your motorhome or camper van. Awesome, you're going to have a fantastic time. But the first question, probably the second question actually after where you want to go, is how you're going to get to mainland Europe from the UK. There are two main options. You've got the ferry or the tunnel, and let's talk about which one's best for you. Hey, I'm Kat from the motorhome travel website Wandering Bird, where we share tips and tricks on travelling the UK and Europe by motorhome and camper. Today we're going to talk about whether or not the ferry or the tunnel is best for you to get to mainland Europe from the UK. There are pros and cons to both, and it's not a clear-cut answer. So let me run through which one works best for us in which situation, and then you can make a more informed decision. If you have LPG propulsion on your vehicle, so I don't mean you'd use gas for your cooking or heating, but something that actually powers your vehicle, you cannot go on the Eurotunnel, you have to go on the ferry. There is a ferry that runs from Dover to Calais. We've been on that once. That was all right, to be fair. It was quite expensive, but we booked it very last minute on the way back from Norway. And it ran, I think there was like several running a day, way more frequently than the Portsmouth Con ferry. So if that might be an option for you too, and I think you can get some really good deals on that one if you book it up way in advance. For us, we use both on a fairly regular basis. When we travel from the UK and we're based down near Portsmouth, we tend to travel quite a lot to the west coast of France. When we do that, we choose to take the ferry, and we generally go Portsmouth to Cannes or Portsmouth to Le Havre. Portsmouth to Le Havre is cheaper because it's the economy route, but we can't always get pet-friendly cabins on that route. So we will go Portsmouth to Cannes as much as we can, as long as we can get a ferry with a pet-friendly cabin, which means that the dog, Mac, can come with us onto the ferry and he's not stuck in the hold in the motorhome for like 7 hours. We don't like doing that to him. If we can't get a route with a pet-friendly cabin, then we will go around the Eurotunnel. We don't want to leave him in the motorhome. But the ferry is more expensive, it is slower, and it has less flexibility. You've got less options on which one you can take when. But the biggest main reason that we take the ferry is that we get a break from driving. If we've got a really long drive on the other side, if we're heading down to Spain or something, we don't want to drive all the way to Dover, Calais, and then all the way back down again, and then all the way south. That's quite exhausting, especially if one of us mainly does the driving and one of us does the navigating, which is what happens in our life. If you guys change it around, that's up to you. Or if you want to stop and stay at campsites or airs on your way down, that's up to you too. We prefer, if we've only got a limited amount of time, to get there as quickly as possible. So therefore, by using the time on the ferry to sleep and relax, we end up on the European side a little bit more rested. That's just what works for us. So, onto the Eurotunnel, which personally I would use if we lived a little bit closer to the east side of the UK. We would use that a lot more because it's quicker. It's generally cheaper, especially if you book it up quite a way in advance, and you have so many more options. There are a few cons to it. You have to go to and from Calais. Now, going into Calais and driving straight out of it isn't an issue, but it is well known that that area can be full of immigrants and migrants who, for whatever reason, are hanging around there, and these people are desperate. And there are many stories of people being broken into or vandalised around that area. So if we do go via the tunnel, and we do, if we're going to go east or south from sort of Calais area, we will always choose to use the tunnel because it is quicker and cheaper. But we don't ever stay within about a 2-hour range of Calais, just because it is a much more increased risk of something unpleasant happening to your motorhome. So that's the tip. That's how we do it. Whether you choose to do that or not is entirely up to you. The other big advantage of taking the tunnel is obviously Max stays with us. We stay in the vehicle all the time, and although you have to turn your gas off, you can relax in the back of the motorhome and chill out. So those are the pros and the cons. The other big con for the Eurotunnel is that in summer you can get massive delays. Now, of course, on the odd occasion where the French want to strike or there's really bad weather, you can get delays on the ferries as well. And that's a huge consideration to think about with the ferries. If you're travelling in winter, the weather could be appalling. I get seasick, which I know is hilarious given that I'm ex-Navy, but I do get seasick. So that's definitely something to consider, whether or not you're happy to run that risk. I will say that we've been taking the ferry, I don't know how many times taken it, a lot. And I think it's only been 3 times where we've had really, really bad weather. So it doesn't happen as often as you would think, but it does happen. And sometimes there's been a storm going through. We've been really lucky, we've been traveling the next day. So a lot of it is just sheer luck. So if you're really concerned about that, go on the tunnel. It's a lot easier and you don't have to worry about all of that. Like I say, whatever you choose, there is no right and wrong. You can get some fantastic deals if you book up in advance. And that's my big tip, would be to book it up as soon as you know that's when you want to go. Traveling late at night or very early in the morning can often help you avoid these queues. But then obviously you're up late at night or early in the morning, so you're not quite as relaxed and refreshed as you need to be. Also on the UK side, there aren't a whole load of campsites within an easily reachable radius, which is a bit of a pain, and I think they're missing a trick there personally. There are a couple, but obviously they get booked up really, really quickly. So again, if you know you want to drive down, you're going to stay overnight and get an early morning tunnel the next day, book up your campsite really quickly. Similarly, if you're coming back, you want to stay somewhere for the night before you drive off to wherever you live in the UK, book that up, and then you will be all okay. So the answer is kind of whatever you like, really. We use both, we like both. If I had to pick one as my preferred method that I could only use for the rest of my life ever, I would use the Eurotunnel, just because it's quicker and easier, and you have much more options, so you can tie it in with whatever your travel plans are. So I hope that helps you out. That was another reader question. If you'd like me to answer your question, by all means pop to wandering-bird.com, join up my email list, and you get an opportunity to ask me whatever question you like, and I will do my best to answer it. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
We're talking about a good time. We're chasing every moment, all the good nights. We're always looking out, and it's a good